Hey guys, welcome to the weekly Q&A video. Before I dive into questions, I need to give a quick thank you to Owl Jesus, one of my new patrons. He donated $50 a month. That's amazing, so thank you so much, man. Your donation actually puts us over the $500 a month goal that I had set up. So next weekend, I'm doing a live stream for patrons only. If you want to participate in that, just go over to Patreon, and any patron at all gets to participate whether you donate $1 or $100. So you can join up and you'll get access to the live stream. And the next goal I have set up is for $1,000 a month, and the reward is going to be that every month I'm going to do a giveaway for the Star Wars subscription box, the Smuggler's Bounty, that they have a deal set up with Funko. So if you want to participate in all that, go over to Patreon and consider signing up. Also, I'm just going to keep on plugging this because I'm so excited about it, but Dragon Con is coming up on September 2nd through 5th. That's Labor Day weekend. There's a panel that I'm going to be on Friday at 2:30, so if you're going to be there, make sure to come to that. And I think I'm going to organize a meetup immediately following the panel at 3:30. So if you're going to be at the convention, please let me know. I would love to meet some of you in person. Also, this is the first year that I'm going to have a media pass, which I'm really excited about. I'm trying to organize some interviews with some Star Wars authors that are going to be there, so I don't know if that's going to happen, but we'll see, and if it does, it'll just blow my mind. But working on that, and if you can't make it to the convention, just make sure you follow me on Instagram at Star Wars Explained and Twitter at Star Wars Explain, and I'll make sure to be live tweeting and taking a bunch of pictures. Like, Dragon Con is seriously the most fun I have all year. It's such a blast, so make sure you're checking all that out. But with all that out of the way, let's get on to the patron questions. Ryan O'Rourke asked how I would feel if Darth Vader killed all of the main protagonists in Rogue One. Honestly, I'm kind of hoping for it. Like, this should be a suicide mission. I am expecting a pretty high casualty rate out of this, and I expect that Darth Vader will be responsible for at least one major death. Like, I think that they're going to use him pretty minimally, but I hope that when he does come, he's like almost a silent Terminator, like just this air of mystery around him, and he's just mowing down the main characters, and it's terrifying, because it should be. So yeah, I would be sad about it probably, because I'm already kind of falling into man love with Chirrut, but ultimately I'm expecting that Darth Vader or the Empire will kill a lot of our main protagonists in this movie. Daniel Charland asked how I feel about Star Wars exploring different genres in their Star Wars stories, and I'm all on board for that. Like, Rogue One is supposed to be a straight-up war movie. I could see the Han Solo movie being a buddy comedy of sorts. It's probably going to be like a buddy comedy action movie, maybe like Rush Hour, that kind of tone, but I would be all up for them going like Western, trying a horror. I mean, some genres probably wouldn't fit, like a romantic comedy, but even if they came out and said they were going to do one, I mean, let's face it, I would be like hesitant, but I would still see it. So yeah, I'm all for using the Star Wars stories to explore multiple different genres that they've never explored before. Smiley Smile 31 asks what my least favorite retcon in Star Wars is, and he actually uses my least favorite as an example, and that's Obi-Wan's "from a certain point of view" statement, and that being his reasoning for not lying to Luke about Darth Vader. I don't see why he couldn't just have been lying to Luke, like trying to keep it under wraps. If you can hear construction out there, I'm sorry, my neighbors are doing a bunch of work, but I don't see why that couldn't just be the case. He's like, yeah, I wanted to keep that a secret. I'm sorry, I lied. Like, I'm fallible. I'm a human. But instead, they like tried to force this whole point of view thing, and I'm like, it was unnecessary. But it's hardly the worst thing to ever happen. But like you also said in your example, Darth Maul coming back, and at first I was very against that when I heard that that was happening. It was like, he was cut in half. It makes no sense, and I still think that, but I also really love his episodes in the Clone Wars, so I'm like, okay, it's fine, I forgive you. But Yeah, there's nothing more annoying to me than just something that they felt like they needed to explain when it really didn't need a complex explanation. But yeah, that's my choice. Owl Jesus asked if I've ever played any of the Star Wars tabletop RPGs, and I have not, but I do use their reference books all the time, especially for Legends. Well, really, like, only for Legends, because for the most part, that's all they're like relegated to. But I would not be against playing them. I just really haven't found the time or opportunity. I know that some of my friends have the Star Wars RPG. I just have yet to play it. But I do play other tabletop games like the X-Wing miniatures, Star Wars Imperial Assault. One I want to play is Star Wars Rebellion. My friends have that too. It's just that I haven't found the time to actually sit down and play them. But yeah, as for the RPGs specifically, I have never played them. Well, now it's lightning and thundering, and my neighbors are doing construction, so if you hear all that, I'm really sorry. The environment is working against me today. But Joe Costner asks who I think the most undervalued yet important character in Star Wars is. That's a really cool question. I'm going to go with Mon Mothma and also Bail Organa, but mostly Mon Mothma because so far she's been in like one scene of the films. I know she's going to be in Rogue One, and that's awesome, and she had a deleted scene in Revenge of the Sith, but as of right now, she's in a few seconds of Return of the Jedi, and she's the leader of the rebellion, and we just see her pop up and say a few words, and you're like, who is this? And then she's gone. Like, she's a huge deal. So yeah, in the films at least, I would say that she's very underused. The books definitely fleshed her out. Even in the new canon, she's getting some more material, like in Bloodline and a little bit in Aftermath. So she's getting there, but as of right now, I would say that by far she is very underused. Before I move on to the YouTube questions, just let me say thank you to all of my patrons that submitted great questions. If I didn't get to your question in this video, please go check the weekly comment thread because I answered it there. So the first YouTube question is Calcium Cat, and he wants to know whether I would prefer to have a Sith anthology film or a bounty hunter anthology film. I would have to go with Sith because more than anything right now, I want the stories of Darth Plagueis and Darth Bane to be canon. Like, their characters are both canon, but their histories are not, and I love those 4 books, the Darth Bane trilogy and the book Darth Plagueis. So a film or like a Netflix series about the Sith would be amazing to me. So yeah, I would go for that. And then I mean, I'd love a Bounty Hunters movie too. They keep talking about a Boba Fett movie, but we just haven't gotten super official confirmation about it. I'm fairly certain that that'll happen. Jeffrey Grant wants to know if I think that Galen Merrick is overpowered. And yes, I do. I think that he was incredibly powerful for the character he was supposed to be. But I totally get why. I mean, it's a video game, and when they put you into a video game, they want you to be able to do all these amazing things. And I'm sure the developers of the game, I mean, they had a cool story, but they weren't really thinking about how Galen's character would affect the rest of the universe. Like, the dude can pull a Star Destroyer out of the sky with the Force. Like, that's insane. But they just wanted you to have this immense power in the Force because that's the character you're playing, and that's what's cool in a video game. So you gotta, I guess, if they were to do that in the new canon, let's say they made a new Force Unleashed game and you were still just as powerful, they would probably have to like make a novelization of it as well and say, like, change some of the contradicting parts where Galen is just like crazy powerful, and they would have an official version of the story where he wasn't the most powerful being of all time. Galactic Wizard asks if I think that Rogue One should have an opening crawl. They're talking about it not having an opening crawl just to, make it separate from the main set of Star Wars films. And I understand why they're wanting to do that, but I think that it should have a crawl. I mean, every book, I think, every comic issue, like they all have crawls. And if any movie needs a crawl, it might be Rogue One, because people who are just fans of the films and don't follow the news like we do, and they just don't keep up with the universe as much as we do. Even some of my subscribers I've had leaving comments like, where is Rey? Where's Finn? Where's Poe? What is this movie? They really need to give the film context. And I feel like a crawl would be the perfect way to do that. You sit down and it explains exactly what you're about to see. And like, Rey's not here, Finn's not here. This is before A New Hope. So it makes sense to me to have a crawl, but I'm sure they're going to find some way, or they're just going to really, really push the marketing, or else they're going to have a bunch of confused people on their hands. Hopefully not angry, because the movie looks amazing, but they need to do something to just give it context, I think, within the film. Arthur Thomas wants to know if I have any Star Wars tattoos, and if not, what would be the first one I get? I don't have any Star Wars tattoos. I don't have any tattoos, actually, but I have thought about getting the Rebel insignia on my shoulder a couple times. That would be what I would get first. I always loved that symbol. I've considered throwing that around as like a milestone, like if we hit 1 million subscribers, I'll get my first Star Wars tattoo. Like, I'm not a huge fan of needles, but I do kind of want a tattoo, so that might be like the push I need. But if I were to get a tattoo, I would do that, or maybe the Mandalorian symbol. And the last question of the day, Pink Love asks which Star Wars actors I've met. All the ones that I met at DragonCon. The first one I met was back in 2007. I met Anthony Daniels on the floor. I am dressed as an engineer from TF2, not Bob the Builder, and my wife, then she was my girlfriend still. She's dressed as Silk Spectre from Watchmen. Last year, actually, we met Peter Mayhew very briefly. He was on the floor. I got to shake his hand and tell him that I loved him. And I think 2 years ago, I saw Billy D. Williams, although I did not get to talk to him. And I think I also saw Vanessa Marshall last year. Didn't get to talk to her either. And I'm hoping I'll get to talk to or meet Jason Isaacs this year, the voice of the Grand Inquisitor. But I think that's everybody. It's always DragonCon related, because that's pretty much the only convention I go to, except next year I'm going to Celebration, so I'm really psyched about that. But that is all the time for questions I have today. Thank you to everyone who asked questions. I'm sorry that I couldn't answer every single one of them. To submit a question for next week, you can ask either me or Mrs. Star Wars Explained Anything, but just leave a comment below or head on over to Patreon and submit a question to the weekly Q&A thread. And don't forget that patrons are going to get access to the patron-only live stream next weekend, but I'll probably post the video onto the channel just so everyone can see it after the fact. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Star Wars Explained and Twitter at Star Wars Explained to get daily updates, and especially for when DragonCon rolls around, that'll be a fun place to keep up with everything. I think that's it. Thank you all so much for watching, and may the Force be with you.